Hello everybody, my name is Voidmaster01, and, well, actually it's not Voidmaster01 anymore, ain't it? I'm the Voidmaster01, the only voice of the void. And, welcome to News, my news playlist. So here we're started with, we got all this going up here. But we're starting with Xbox reportedly working on a Monster Hunter-like exclusive with Halo Infinite co-developer. So, Xbox is reportedly working on a Halo Monster Hunter-like exclusive, codenamed Project Swift, with Halo Infinite co-developer Certain Affinity. Reported first by journalist Jeff Grubb and backed up by Windows Central, the new game has apparently been in development since 2020 and is slated for release in 2023 or 2024. According to Grubb, Microsoft actively courted developers for a game like Monster Hunter after deciding the Capcom series would be too expensive to add to Game Pass. Other details remain under wraps. Certain Affinity has worked previously as support studio on the Halo and Call of Duty series and has particular speciality for multiplayer projects. Given that Monster Hunter is built somewhat around co-op boss battles, it seems a neat fit. Last year, Certain Affinity announced that it was working on an ambitious new game. Today, we're excited to reveal that we're leading development on a new original IP, read a statement at the time. We are excited to take on a genre and style of game that we've always loved. Thrilled beyond words. Aside from the ones that we already know about, multiple rumors have sprung up regarding unannounced Xbox exclusives in the last year. We previously heard about a Southern Gothic adventure from We Happy Few developer Compulsion, a narrative RPG from Obsidian, and a fantasy game from Hitman developer 2 Interactive. That's all to say about the huge slate Xbox has coming up, including Starfield, Avowed, and Redfall, not to mention possible Activision Blizzard exclusives down the line. Next, we have the eject button held all the power on the original Xbox. This was an older thing, but it kind of works now as well. The most important button on the Xbox wasn't the power button. It was the button to eject the disc tray. Conceptually, this doesn't make sense. Of course, the power button should be the most important button. It turns on and off the whole console. But that attitude is steeped in our understanding of modern devices, where our games and apps are far more self-contained than they were during the original Xbox heyday. The console design reflects the eject button's priority. The disc eject button is bigger, higher up, and surrounded by an LED ring in the console's iconic green glow, drawing even more attention to it. The reasoning here is simple. The original Xbox, like its contemporaries and predecessors, was useless without discs for games, DVDs and CDs without the disc tray button. Your Xbox was never more than a hulking hunk of green and black plastic. So Microsoft wanted to direct you towards that button because it meant that you had bought a game and were ready to play, or that you wanted to swap out discs to play something else. A powered-on Xbox with a broken disc tray was a useless thing. An Xbox with an open tray was one primed and ready to launch you into your next video game adventure. Is it any wonder that Microsoft prioritized the disc eject button in its design? It is a legacy that exists elsewhere in the console universe. The original PlayStation and PlayStation 2 both feature power buttons the same size as their disc tray buttons. The Nintendo GameCube does too emphasize its lid eject button with an extra physical dimple that the other power and reset buttons lacked. But the original Xbox wins out in its glorification of the eject button by making it the single biggest and flashiest button on the entire console. The Xbox successors, though, also tell a story of how discs became less and less a critical part of video games over the years. Take the original Xbox 360 for instance. The tray eject button is still prominent, located on the side of the drive itself, but it's no longer in the spotlight. The power button has eclipsed it. Now a huge festooned with LED lights that could indicate the connected controllers or critical hardware failures. That shift in focus away from the disk drive coincided with an increase in functionality for the console itself. The Xbox 360 could function without a game inserted. It had a hard drive that you could download games to and internet connectivity to buy and rent movies and TV shows. It is a trend that continues over the course of 360's history. The subsequent 360 Slim and 360e iterations would continue to shrink down the disk eject button while simultaneously putting more emphasis on the power button, adding more chrome details to further highlight it. The Xbox One generation would go a step further. For the first time, buying games entirely digitally was a feasible prospect with the new console, and the scale between the consoles lit up Xbox logo-shaped power icon and the tiny capacitive disc eject button reflect that. The Xbox One S would take trend to the ultimate expression. The digital version of that console would simply lack a disc drive and its corresponding button. Which brings us to the modern generation of Xbox consoles. The Xbox Series S dispenses with discs entirely. All games purchased and played have to be done through Microsoft Store. But even the Xbox Series X shows a fundamental shift in how we interact with the consoles. The power button is as big as ever, but the eject button has been reduced to a speck next to the drive itself. And even the discs are largely vestigial. Modern games all run on the console's internal drive today. Buying a game on a disc just means avoiding an initial download, so the base game files can be copied off the Blu-ray instead. And usually that precedes a lengthy download of patches and updates from the internet. The history of the disc eject button is a story of the video game ecosystem in miniature, a shrinking detail across 4 generations of consoles that reflects a much bigger shift in the way we buy and play games today. By the way, if you're ever wondering where I'm getting these from, I get them from multiple different places, some of them being The Verge, IGN. This one is by Chaim Gartenberg on The Verge. The last one is from Joe Scribbles on IGN. Xbox Game Pass will soon stop taking money from inactive accounts, by Ian Walker. Thanks to an investigation into online gaming subscriptions by the United Kingdom's Competition and Markets Authority, Microsoft will soon improve the way in which Xbox Game Pass service handles auto-renewal refunds and inactive memberships. Perhaps the biggest takeaway is that Microsoft will no longer continue to charge monthly fees if a Game Pass account falls dormant. Gamers need to be given clear and timely information to make informed choices when signing up for auto-renewing memberships and subscriptions. CMA Executive Director of Enforcement Michael Grenfell said in a recent press release, "We are therefore pleased that Microsoft has given the CMA these formal undertakings to improve the fairness of the practices and protect consumers, and will be offering refunds for certain customers." While these improvements were previously meant only for the United Kingdom, Microsoft rep told The Verge that Xbox Game Pass subscribers across the world will all benefit from them eventually. Sony and Nintendo were also included in the CMA's investigation, which initially kicked off in April 2019. But there's currently no word whether they plan to match Microsoft's commitments. Xbox Game Pass has been a huge success for Microsoft, attracting over 18 million users to its hundreds-strong library of Xbox and PC games since launching in June 2017. Sony is reportedly developing similar subscription for its PlayStation brand that could arrive as early as this spring. Master and Dynamic MG20 Review. Pricey doesn't mean good, by Cameron Faulkner. Master and Dynamic has released a wireless gaming headset that could easily be mistaken for a set of deluxe headphones. It's called MG20, and compared to the likes of Sony's 1000 XM4 and Bose's QC45S, it aims higher in terms of build quality with materials like steel and leather in place of plastic and leatherette. This Master and Dynamic's first splash into the already crowded pool of gaming headsets, and it's a big one. If mostly for its hefty price, this company isn't known for making affordable audio equipment, and its headset is no exception. Costing $449, smack dab between the price for a PS5 Digital Edition and a console and an Xbox Series X. Suave design and good build materials don't usually come cheap, I know. And the MG20 looks stellar, sticking closely but not exactly to the look of the company's $499 MW69 noise-canceling headphones. The MG20 includes a USB Type-A wireless audio transmitter, which makes it compatible with PCs with PlayStation 4 and 5 console, and with the Nintendo Switch via its dock. It can be used as Bluetooth headphones too, paired simultaneously with your phone or tablet. It has some other perks that prove Master Dynamics did some homework before jumping into this category. For instance, the headphones included a detachable boom mic with a pop filter, a microphone gain dial on the back, the left ear cup, and a USB-C to 3.5mm cable for wired listening. Either with devices or through a controller, the headset charges through the same USB-C port. This model's ear pads attach magnetically to the cup housing, making for an easy replacement should you need to do that. However, I am too versed in gaming headsets to be swayed by the MG20's deluxe design and the smattering of basic features. Most of the features offered here have been included in cheaper headsets made by other established gaming companies. In fact, considering this price, the MG20 is missing a few must-haves if it wants a spot in the premium category, like a game and chat audio balance dial, concurrent playback of both Bluetooth audio, noise cancellation, and better sound quality. The good things about it is its simple and elegant design and multi-point connectivity. The cons are sound features aren't to the level that $449 should deliver. There's an app required for toggling the equality. It cannot handle playback for two devices simultaneously. Missing key features found in cheaper headsets. You don't need to use an app to get started with the MG20. Just plug in the included 2.4 GHz dongle into your PC or console. Then hold the Bluetooth button for a moment to turn it on. To pair it via Bluetooth, simply hold the same button down for longer when you power it on. However, downloading the M&D Connect app for Android or iOS is a necessity for adjusting the equalizer, which, come on, should be possible to do without an app. Not to mention that the app lets you switch between only two equality settings. E-Sport, which removes warmth and bass from the sound, leaving shrill highs, and bass boost. There's no option to customize your own EQ settings, sadly. And out of the box, the MG20's sound profile is set to no EQ mode, which sounds terribly dull. I hope that everyone who buys these knows that an app exists, or else they'll probably wonder why these sound so flat by default. The app also handles firmware updates along with a setting that allows you to choose how long you want the headset to stay powered on after you remove them. Like many gaming headsets, the MG20 features a button that can toggle a virtual 7.1 surround sound mode. And just like in most of these other models, it's not great at what it intends to do, enable a better directional output than is normally provided in the default mode by virtually widening the soundstage. It greatly boosts the attacks of the mids and highs the expense of a reverb heavy sound that, to me, is a little too harsh to listen comfortably to for an extended period of time. It's tough to see the MG20's dual connectivity modes as anything but good, though this feature wasn't as fully baked as I hoped that it would be, considering the $449 price. While they support multi-point connectivity to, say, a phone, a console, at the same time, the headset can't play audio streams from both simultaneously. So if you want to listen to a podcast as you play a game, attempting it will result in a jumbled mess of audio, and sometimes only one of the connections will work, requiring a reboot of the headset to get audio piped through to the source you want to. However, the MG20 headset does work as intended when I'm connected wirelessly to a source via USB, and call comes through via Bluetooth. Tapping the multifunction button once it's located next to the volume wheel on the back of the right ear cup, can answer or hang up calls. That button can also be used to play and pause music or summon a smart assistant. And assuming you don't want to be seen during your commute with an attached boom mic, the MG20 features built-in mics that yield good quality voice during calls. Each of the MG20's ear cups features a big circular bulge on their outer shells, and I immediately hoped these would be rotatable for adjusting volume and game or chat audio, like Microsoft's 99 Xbox wireless headset is clearly designed to do. But here, they're just cosmetic to my disappointment. To compare audio quality, I swapped between using the MG20, Sony's 99 Pulse 3D headset, and the $99 Razer Kyra for PlayStation. While the MG20 has better build quality by a country mile, I preferred how compelling the headset sounded overall, and they didn't exhibit the very minor audio lag I encountered when the MG20 when wirelessly tethered to my PS5 or a Nintendo Switch dock. Also, the voice quality gathered from the MG20's detachable microphone wasn't great. Considering the headset's price, I'd much rather use a dedicated desktop mic than this one. This is another area where some cheaper headsets are outpacing Master and Dynamic. I also preferred how those other headsets felt to wear over the course of a few hours. While the MG20's lambskin leather-coated ear cups rested comfortably on my ears, the Alcantara-lined headband pressed onto my head and a bit too much. The fit is similar to other Master Dynamic over-ear headphones that I've tested in the past. Fine for short sessions, but uncomfortable for much more than that. What's great about the gaming headset market right now is that it doesn't need brands like Master Dynamic, Bose, or Bang and Olufsen to raise the bar. Similar to the mid-range phone renaissance a few years ago, buying a headset with a comprehensive set of features, good performance, and solid comfort doesn't need to cost you much more than $200. In most cases, several headsets in our buying guide contain the best options, and covering multiple price ranges will suit you better. If you really want active noise cancellation, then you'll probably spend closer to $250 or $300. The excellent SBUS H3 Pro Hybrid falls within this price range, but the MG20 headset is a prime example of a company not properly reading the room before trying to make a big splash into a new category. It'd be great to see Master and Dynamics take a swing at lower cost option, foregoing premium build materials for the sake of more features. Okay, so something with Nintendo happened by Zach Zwiesen. Nintendo hits YouTube soundtrack channel with over 1,300 copyright blocks. A YouTube channel uploads video game soundtracks has reportedly sent over 1,300 copyright blocks in one day. This news isn't shocking if you know Nintendo's track record when it comes to fan creation and communities, but it's still a frustrating situation as much of the music that is removed from the YouTube is still not streamable on services like Spotify. Yesterday morning, YouTuber Gilva Sumner posted a tweet explaining that Nintendo had sent them and their channel over 1,300 copyright blocks. The channel, which is extremely popular, uploads full video game soundtracks, letting fans easily listen to their favorite Kirby or Mario track via YouTube. After all copyright blocks went through and the dust settled, Gylfason shared a list of all the soundtracks that Nintendo had targeted and blocked from the site. It's a long list. Some are The Legend of Zelda, Super Smash Bros., Yoshi's Island, Super Mario, all the fancy ones, New Super Mario, Mario and Luigi Dream Team, Mario 3D, Luigi's Mansion, Mario and Luigi Bowser's Inside Story, Kid Icarus Uprising, and Kirby's Dream Land. According to Gylfason, their videos aren't monetized, and they don't profit off them, yet Nintendo still decided to block hundreds of videos. Kotaku has contacted Nintendo about the copyright blocks and if the company has any plans to release its music on streaming services. This isn't the first time Gylfason has run afoul of Nintendo. Back in 2019, the same YouTuber sent numerous copyright claims from Nintendo over other video game soundtrack uploads. And throughout 2020, Gylfason continued to receive copyright blocks from Nintendo. I am also not angry or surprised that Nintendo is doing this, but I do think it's a bit disappointing that there is hardly an alternative, explained Gylfason in a tweet thread from 2020. If Nintendo thinks this is what needs to be done, to set an example, I will let them take it down the channel. It is their content after all. While it's true that Nintendo is legally clear to strike down video uploads of their copyrighted content, it continues to be disappointing that the company doesn't wish to work with fans or its community of players to offer them more ways of enjoying the great music from past Nintendo titles. Though, considering how quick the company is to shut down any fan game or mod, it is unlikely Nintendo will be changing anytime soon. NES Zelda map recreated by one person using 2,500 Lego bricks. No, 25,000 Lego bricks by Zach Zwiesen. If I dumped 25,000 Lego bricks and pieces in front of you and gave you a few months to build something with them, what would you make? You'd probably be more concerned that I dumped all that plastic on you. But one Zelda fan and Lego builder took all those blocks and created a marvelous looking recreation of the original NES Legend of Zelda map. Ian Roosma has fond memories of The Legend of Zelda on NES, explaining in an email to Kotaku that it was one of the first games he's ever played. So after 2 years of building with a big blank spot on one of his home's walls, Roosma decided the perfect way to fill that void was a Lego creation of the original world map from Zelda. I was looking for something that had personal meaning to me, said Roosma. It also needed to be complicated enough that it would take a long time to build and complete. So recreating the entirety of Zelda's map using only Lego pieces seemed like the perfect project. Zelda on the NES is particularly nostalgic for me because it was the beginning of an open world games for me. The developer just drops the players off somewhere and you decide where you want to go and what you want to do. It's the best type of game. Using Bricklink, a website made up of independent Lego brick sellers, Roosma was able to source all different pieces he needed to complete the map. And because it was being recreated in 3D, things would be trickier. For example, all of the rivers are slightly lower than the surrounding land and trees are various heights, creating a better sense of scale and depth. But this attention to detail meant that it took a lot of parts to create the various bits of the map. Here are all the pieces that were used to just create all the trees on the map. 1,400 green cylinders, 1,400 green cones, 2,800 green round 1x1s to make the trees have different heights, and 2,800 brown round 1x1s for the trunks. After 4 months of designing and building, the map was finished, and he uploaded a video of the completed project on YouTube earlier this week. This completed map is 30 inches tall and 86 inches wide. As for what's next, it doesn't sound like another big LEGO project is happening anytime soon. I don't have plans for another epic build, but I'm always thinking about what could be built with LEGOs that would have personal meaning to me. Live action Halo TV show release date revealed in new trailers by Emma Roth. Paramount Plus debuted 2 new trailers for the long-awaited live-action Halo series, revealing its fast-approaching March 24th, 2022 release date. The first video is a 1-minute teaser that previews the longer trailer, originally set to debut during tonight's AFC Championship game between the Kansas City Chiefs and Cincinnati Bengals. It flashed between clips of the live-action series and both teams on the field via IGN. At around the 52-second mark, you can hear the announcer state the fast approaching release date. And while the longer trailer was supposed to air during the AFC game, Paramount appears to have released it early. This is a much meatier trailer than the brief trailers released last year, and gives us a more detailed glimpse at the possible storyline, which doesn't seem to follow any specific arcs from the games themselves. We also get a first look at Master Chief's AI assistant, Cortana, as well as the elites. The Halo show stars Pablo Schreiber of American Gods as Master Chief, with Jen Taylor taking on the familiar role of Cortana, who she voiced since the original release of the first Halo game in 2001. Natasha McElhone, who was originally cast to play Cortana, will star as the brilliant Dr. Catherine Halsey. The live-action Halo was first announced in 2018 as a Showtime series, but later became a Paramount Plus exclusive. While it was originally set to debut in 2021, delays due to the COVID-19 pandemic pushed the show's release date until 2022. Alright. Well, that is very exciting. So exciting, in fact, that as soon as it starts coming out, I'm going to go buy me a subscription to that. Anyway, thank you so much for joining me. This is The Void, and this is Voidmaster 01, the only voice of the Void. And